an example I always like to share is I struggled when I came back home and I came back to the church um, back in 20, I want to say it's like 2017, 2018. Um, I had an addiction to pornography,
Mhm.
and I struggled with that addiction for a long time, and and I didn't tell nobody, kept it to myself. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get rid of it. I couldn't get rid of it. Couldn't get rid of it. I couldn't shake it. Like I always found myself when I was by myself, looking at pornography. I struggled with being in a hotel room by myself. My job requires me sometimes to travel,
Mhm.
and I'll be in a hotel, and I had hotel anxiety. I shared this with some of my friends and family. I had what I called hotel anxiety. Like I didn't trust myself in a hotel by myself because
Mhm.
I'm gonna do something. I took a step on faith, and told my wife. I said, "Babe, I'm struggling with some things. I need you to pray with me." And she said, "What?" And I told her the hotel anxiety, the pornography in particular, and I mean, it was something about telling her, like I was liberated, like, oh man. And then
Mhm.
to know she's praying with me and praying for me. And then she was intentional about calling me, "Hey, how you doing? I know you by yourself." Cause it was those times when I was alone that I was the most in trouble with myself. I
Yeah.
couldn't trust myself. It
Yeah.
was those times when I was home alone, in a hotel alone. I'm picking up my phone and I'm doing things that I ain't supposed to be doing. But I realized after saying it out loud, um, it was became easier to fight it. And now I'm delivered. Now, today I
Yeah.
stand delivered from pornography, delivered from hotel anxiety, right? And and it helped me to realize that really all we're really missing in our life is a deeper connection with God.
Yeah.
And when I started using my idle time to bless Him, to pray, and now being in the role of a pastor, like I'm always writing. When I was I had a knee replacement. When I had my knee replacement, I was laid up for about, I was in the hospital for like 4 days, and then in the rehab for another 4 days. Those 8 days, all I did was write sermons, and I didn't understand what was happening. I'm writing sermons. Some of it was just thoughts. Some of it was full sermons. And then we get out, and I started a church, and every single one of those messages lined up with where God was taking us, and it was
Mm.
relevant to things that happened that hadn't happened yet. Like
Wow.
I'm like, why am I writing about this? And my family would crack up. They'd be like, when did you write that?" I'm like, "I wrote that like a month ago. Like like that was a month ago. I didn't know this was going to happen." We had a fire in our garage, and I had a message about the hand of God, and and it just all started to fall together. So for me, and what I would say to anyone who's struggling with any kind of addiction or self doubt about themselves, I know it sounds cliche, but you really that personal time with God, man, it's like it's you can't even put a value on it. Like it's incredibly important to just take time to talk to God, to study His Word. Even if you felt like you read the Bible a million times, every time I
Yeah.
read the Bible now, I probably written about 9 or 10 sermons off the 23rd Psalm, right? So like I get a different revelation, but that alone time with God is what I needed, is what I realized was missing in my life, and that made me help me get over all of those different things, those addictions and things that I had. So
Hey man, like that's paramount. I think it's so important to know because a lot of times people will say like, what should I do when I feel this way? And sometimes people will say like pray
pray.
or read the word, but it's like just saying that you don't really get it. I don't think it's something that you really pick up until like you're into it. Like
Hmm.
I would notice like, I'm fasting, I'm praying, I'm doing it the way that I should be doing it. I'm not going to want to do those
Right.
things. And even when the opportunity comes up,
Hmm.
I I pray right in the moment. And I'm
Hmm.
like, like, no, I don't want to do that. Lord, whatever. But it's like, um, when you begin to like sort of drift away, I think that we start to ask questions that we already know the answer to. It's like, oh, so what am I supposed to do when I feel this way? I was like, well, the reality is that the Lord is not going to take away your human desire
No,
and your you know what I'm
you
saying?
got
Like,
to
and
learn discipline.
we think that deliverance is me never wanting to do this again.
Right.
It's like I don't do it not so much because I don't want to, but because I love God more than this.
Mhm.
And I want for my actions to say what my mouth is saying. I don't want it to just be all talk. And that's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, there was a point in time where I could be like just satisfied with saying the right thing in church. I grew up in church. So you grew up in church.
Mhm,
It's like
mhm.
we can say the right thing. We can say, the testimony we want to say to get the saints to raise their hands and all that. But I think it's just so even though it sounds like it's too simple, it's like, oh, you got to pray, you got to read your word. It's like because you're putting something inside of yourself that's going to push all of that other stuff
Out.
out.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I'm saying?
You're
Like,
making room.
oh,
You gotta make room for
yes,
God. You gotta absolutely make room for God, and you gotta put yourself in a position where, yes, I'm choosing not to do some of those things, right? Um, and I'm choosing not to do them not because I think it makes me a bad person, right? I'm choosing not to do anything that's going to get in the way of God's presence in my life. That's going to get in the way of God being able to use me and move through my life because God has given me too many opportunities to be in front of people and especially young people
yeah,
who are impressionable, who sit on every word that comes out of your mouth because they don't know as much as an adult might know, and they haven't experienced as many things. So when you're talking to youth, when you're talking to kids, and you really got to be mindful of those things. So for some of the things that I've been through, it's not for me to talk to young people about. I'm
yeah,
not going to sit down and talk with a bunch of 8 and 9 year olds about a pornography
yeah,
addiction.
right,
I'm just not. Even
yeah,
though now I have talked to this 9 year old about pornography because he's got I know a 9 year old that I work with in the community. He's not a church kid. Well, I don't know if he goes to church or not, but he's struggling with pornography, and his
mhm,
mother told me. He's like, he's like, what can I do? And I said, one, you gotta not make him feel like a criminal, and make him feel so bad. I said, and two, he needs to understand what that does to his mind. So
yeah,
now that pushed me to start doing studies on pornography and why do people look at pornography? Why do people use it? And how is it that a 9 year old is addicted to it? And something that I was alluding to when I was speaking to the youth, is like our I think adults don't even realize and understand the amount of access that these kids have and the things that they're exposed to at an early age. Like
yeah,
we would have never seen pornography at 7, 8 year old one because we didn't have cell phones, right?
yeah,
But now you got cell phones and kids can access the world through this cell phone.
yeah,
Even if you say I'm not giving my kid a phone till they're 12, you got a phone
mm,
and you think your kid don't know your password?
yeah,
I remember I, oh my God, I don't want to put it on, throw it out there. I won't say this is, I already started saying it. We had a computer, and this is before I had my problem. We had a computer at home. This is back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And one day I turned on my computer and it was, and all of a sudden, all of these pictures of naked people started popping up. There's one of those
oh no,
viruses that gets on your
oh
computer.
no,
And I was like, what the heck? Come to find out, it was one of my kids, and
mm,
she finally confessed years later that it was her that did it, right? That got the virus, and she was scared. She don't do, but when I think about it in that regard, like the kids have access to stuff, have access to our stuff that gives them access to stuff that even though we're not accessing it, they can.
yeah,
So these kids are picking up their parents' phones and they're reading your text messages. So you better be on point, mom and dad.
yeah, yep,
Kids is going to your bank account. I've heard stories of kids buying, using parents' credit cards or the Grubhub
yep,
and all kind of stuff because they
yep,
know how to pick up your phone and do that, and you don't know how it happened. So our kids have a lot of pressure on them because they have access to stuff that they are not mature enough to handle.
yeah,
And so as parents and as adults, we have to be mindful to be paying attention to what they're doing